So welcome to Inspire Radio, and today I'm joined by Matt Gregor, mental health PE and mental health lead at a primary school in Oxfordshire. So welcome, Matt, to Inspire Radio.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate you taking the time.
No, lovely to have you on, and especially as we are thinking about children starting to go back to school. But first of all, could you tell me what the PE and mental health lead does at a primary school? Because it's not a role that I've heard of before, and it sounds like a brilliant idea. So can you just tell us a little bit about what you do, please?
Yeah, so I've been based at my school for 11 years, and before obviously PE funding came out, it used to be that sports coaches would come in for 2 or 3 hours, work with groups of children, and then kind of move on to the next school. And I was previously in a kind of sports role coaching, went into the school I work at now, did a few hours coaching, and the head teacher said, look, you've got a really great bond with children. And she said, you either have this skill or you don't. And I said, would I be interested in a full-time job? So we spoke. I then joined the school and started to kind of bring the relationship of physical education up. It's only a small school, and then we started to win competitions. And then as this developed, I became more of a sports coordinator. So worked with other primary schools to kick their PE off. And then about 3.5 years ago, I decided, mental health was massively important. I lost my mum. And I kind of become the tough guy. I was like, I'm a guy, I don't need to talk about emotions. And it kind of hit me like a brick, really. And all the way I was feeling, I was like, I don't get this. So for me, I was like, when you're young, no one ever talks about death, bereavement, and emotions and how to talk and how to feel. So with the relationship I had in school, I wanted to bring in mental health. This is before, obviously, mental health became a huge, big topic. And I discussed everything with the head teacher and said, look, I want to bring in mental health and physical health and the bonds. And we launched this project. Everything we did, obviously, in school, we first of all approached parents. We wanted, obviously, to have their backing first. So when we launched mental health, we became a school that was taking the approach of an award. So we got our mental health and wellbeing award. We are the second school in Oxfordshire to have this award, and it's a kind of a KPI. So you have to fulfill KPIs to get this reward, and it helps you gain a qualification towards mental health and wellbeing. And we became, I guess, like a flagship school for the local CAM service that, we picked upon how we'd done so well with creating mental health and physical health together, that they kind of formed a relationship with us, and we became a flagship for them, that they wanted to kind of roll this program that we'd created into other schools. And I done some work with the local CAM service to push mental health and physical health. We then did roadshows, talks. I've done local talks for the local government to showcase, obviously, the work I've done that creates a relationship between sport, mental health, and resilience, which I think, right now, I think we often have, in a world right now, we have physical health and mental health. They're one or the other, isn't there? The government went for a stage where we fired loads of money into physical health because, obesity rate was very high. And then it's kind of now gone, actually, we need to work on mental health, and then physical health kind of drops off. And as well as I do, if I'm feeling down or sitting at the office all day, for me, just simply going for a walk, having a run, or doing something kicks off that endorphins that makes me feel great. So for me, what I'm trying to do is really form this relationship and bond between physical health and mental health. And hopefully, I'm looking at tracking the children that we've worked with in our year sixes who are progressing up to secondary school to see if this project we've launched 3 years ago does actually help. And fingers crossed, hopefully, if I can affect 1 out of the group of 30 children, to me, that's what this is about. It's all about the children. And I've got a great team behind me, great support from my head teacher and staff at an amazing school. I'm lucky, and the children are lucky, I guess, to have a full-time physical education and mental health person. So I'm lucky to be where I am, really.
I mean, this is music to my ears, because as a coach, I have a little dream that, we have coaches in primary schools, and not just sports coaches, but just coaches helping children to grow their mindset, to empower them, but also, like you say, to pull physical and mental health together, because it's the same thing. And if we are working, or you're working with children at primary school on those things now, by the time they get to secondary school, the world's their oyster, because They understand what good mental health is. They understand what good physical health is, but they also understand that it's okay to talk and it's okay to feel all those different emotions that you may feel. And, you know, if we can set our primary school children up, you know, the best way that we can, which it sounds like your school is, it sounds like, you know, it's a really forward thinking. And to me, that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot now. Obviously, we've kind of almost moved away from mental health because what we didn't want to do is drain out the word mental health. You know, not saying we're getting over the stigma, but we didn't want the, you know, it to continue and kids go, oh, this is boring now. So we kind of moved more into like growth mindset. And we've got children in reception year 1, year 2 that kind of know what growth mindset and fixed mindset
I love
is.
it.
And we brought in a monster called the Yeti Monster. So we use the language, I guess, we form in school now is a lot more about children. You often hear, I can't do this. Well, we say we can't do this yet. Because as you know, we previously spoke, I said, adults these days forget we have an inner child in us. And I think, you know, that is a great way to explain stuff to children at school. I always say, I'm just a bigger version of you. I'm still a child. The difference is I'm the age I am, you're the age you are, but we still are going along the same path together. You know, you like to run and kick a football, so do I. You know, you like to learn about or watch TV and eat ice cream, so do I. We just think about things differently. And the more you get older, the more experience you gain, you take a different path or you become stronger or things affect you differently. But as a child, I think there's so much worry in school. I remember when I went to school, it was just going to go have fun with your friends, you're learning, you're out just kicking a football, messing around in the grass. Now, children often come to school and they're so boxed into a cage, as in there's no freedom or flexibility. And I think at the school we've created that real relationship where children have the freedom to learn differently, and we try not to box them in. We allow characters to come out. We don't specifically go, right, everybody learns the same way, because I might be a learner that learns better by doing it physically. Somebody might learn better by doing it virtually. So we create an environment, I guess, at school where children can use their characters to learn how they feel best. As long as we can kind of support and talk, and the relationship we are like a small family. You have people that will come up to you and say how they're feeling with emotions, and you've got parents that are kind of coming in. So when I do a sports club, we set up a parents netball team who then enter the league, because, you know, there's just kind of a great family atmosphere. Everybody kind of buys into it. Don't get me wrong, at the start, we had the same questions of parents saying, oh, you're going to use the word mental. And as you would do anywhere, yes, that is a scary topic, but that's what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to avoid the stigma and build a closer relationship with letting children know that if you are having a bad day, as you would do as an adult, if you're having a bad day, you just want to be on your own, you just say, leave me alone. Whereas as a child, we don't, you know, you want to say, okay, it doesn't matter how you're feeling. It's important just to let someone know, even if you're having a bad day, just getting 2 or 3 words out can sometimes help that problem disappear. Or somebody might say, I've got a better idea. Why don't we try this or do that, you know, to make you feel a little bit better, rather than kind of, I guess, being like I was, a guy, and trying to be tough and say, I don't need to talk about emotions. I've lost my mum. I've just got to continue, rah, rah, rah. And then 3 years later, it caught me. And I was just in this world of, what do I do? Where do I go? Who do I talk to? Because I'd never spoke about emotions. As a guy, I'd always gone, oh, how do I approach this? You know, I'm upset, I'm sad. Something could come on the TV and I was crying. Well, I was supposed to be a guy. And it takes something like that to make you realize how important it is just to have a conversation.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you are you know, talking to children about a growth mindset in primary school. That is just brilliant, because that's what we should be talking to them about, and we should be fostering that emotional intelligence as well, because which it sounds like, you know, all the things that you're doing feed into that, because, you know, to get through life, you need to work on your emotional intelligence, and that is key. And that can be, you know, emotional intelligence can be more important than whatever qualifications you've got, because if you haven't got that emotional intelligence, you're perhaps not going to be able to work with people, you know, communicate in the right way. So to me, it sounds like you're really working on those key life skills, which are sometimes missing from schools, aren't they?
I mean, this is my personal opinion, not the school I work in. So, you know, for me, I think education system needs to change. You know, the education system is still, you know, I'm 31, and the education system is still exactly the same. I'm still seeing children in the same curriculum that I was. And like you've just said, I think there needs to be this life curriculum, almost,
Yeah.
what is a mortgage? What is a credit card? What is debt? What is gambling? When I bought my first house a year ago, and you have to know what is a mortgage, what is an interest rate, what's this? And I'm going, excuse me, Dad, I don't know what this is. It's kind of, school doesn't teach you life skills. Don't
Life
get me wrong.
skills, yeah.
I think exams are good, but exams only teach you what you can remember.
Yeah.
So not every person is going to have a great memory. So yes, there is need for exams, because you do a driving test, you have to. So there are tests. Life is a test, but do we need specifically to rely on an exam to dictate how well a child is learning? As a parent, I'm going to be a future parent. As long as my child is happy and learning the way they enjoy learning, to me, it doesn't matter if a school was to come to me and say, oh, well, they're only at like 89%, we need to get them up to 100. At the end of the day, as long as my child enjoys school, is happy, can come home and have a conversation, enjoys going to school, that's the way I want my child to enjoy education. I don't want them to, at primary school, be like, right, I need to be an engineer, I need to know this, this, and this, and this. To be honest, at the age you are at primary school and secondary school, who knows what you want to be? If someone said to me, when you were younger, did you want to be PE and mental health lead? I would have said, no way. I first wanted to be a mechanic. So at the age you are, I think there's so much pressure nowadays on children to be, you have to go to university, you have to do this, there's not the freedom, I guess, for it to allow children to develop. It's so much pressure. Social media, Instagram, all these types of things are great when they work well, but it puts more and more pressure, I think, on children to have it right now at the click of a button, and life isn't like that. Probably in your career, in my career, we've had to climb a path to get where we are. Or you want a promotion, you have to do certain steps to get there. But the world, or things that we live in now, because it's so quick and so demanding, is that the world that children are going to accept in things right now at the click of a button? You can order something online and get it delivered at the same time. Well, when I wanted a new toy or something as a child, you had to wait to get it delivered.
Yeah, you did. You had to wait for a birthday or a Christmas. And I'm just thinking about the current crisis that we're in. Although we are starting to, the lockdown is starting to ease slightly, I do hope that this time has given parents and children that time to enjoy the really simple things. And it's not about going out and buying the latest game for your Xbox, or it's not about going to the latest restaurant. It's about having that time together, playing in the garden, doing something daft, doing some painting, doing some baking. I know it's been difficult as well, don't get me wrong. I know that pulling families together has been a big challenge for people, but I do hope that that's something good that comes out of this time, that everybody's slowed down and it's not things at the click of a button. And and the fact that it sounds like your school is working with children as individuals. You're looking at them as an individual, and you're not pigeonholing them just because they might not be good at maths. You're actually thinking, well, what are they good at? What are their strengths? But you're looking at it in such a holistic approach. And it's about the emotional intelligence, getting them to think about their self-care as well. So they grow up to be, they go to high school owning themselves, don't they? They know how to look after themselves. They know how to look after their mental health and their physical health, because it's all one thing.
Don't get me wrong, when you go for a job or you go for a job interview, you've got to be able to have an eye-to-eye conversation. And because of the industry we live in is social media present, can children now stand up in front of a group of audience and have a conversation and look at people in the eye contact? Well, that's one thing I've had at the last event I did. I invited 2 Year 6 students from my school to come and talk. And this was in front of 120 head teachers and mental health people. And they spoke openly. And I'm not saying every school should encourage that, but I think people speaking and people skills is a great topic.
Definitely. And that's part of, like you said, looking at our education system and changing so that we've got life skills, we've got people skills, we've got communication skills, we've got emotional intelligence, and that all should be part of the curriculum, and it should be embedded in what we do. So it sounds like your school are doing a fantastic job of that, and obviously you're so passionate about it and driving it. It's just amazing.
Yeah, not everybody has, what I mean, and I have to get asked this. People say, well, how much does this cost? I mean, we launched this project with no money, and we don't have money. You know, school budgets are tight everywhere, and it's going to be even tighter after what's gone on with COVID. So I think right now, mental health should be one of the key topics that at the school, or well, not just mental health, physical health and mental health is going to be a great way to inspire and in this epidemic time to support mental health of parents of children. You know, as we're inviting children back into school next week, we've gone into school to make sure that 2 meters apart measures are put in place. You know, we've got different playgrounds, different start times, different end times. It's going to be a crazy world, not just for children, but as for teachers. You know, we're sat there thinking, well, this is crazy for us. You know, you probably haven't seen each other for 2 or 3 months and you want to hug somebody and you can't do that. And there's so many questions, you know, it's like $1 million question. Is this going to work? Is education going to be different? Nobody knows. But I think right now we need to support parents that have been absolute superstars doing home education right now through this. As a teacher, I do that for a living, you know, but to hand it over to a parent and be expecting them to teach your English, your maths, your science, you know, my hat goes off to every parent out there, you know, especially with dealing with the epidemic and having conversations about that. So for me, I would say a great piece of advice would be, if you could, talk to your children, be open and honest, you know, like you would do with mental health. There is the stigma of the word mental health, but don't be afraid to approach, you know, the word COVID and illness and death, because I think the more open and honest we are with children, I think there is the better understanding that they will talk back to you. Or maybe when your child, you know, has their first days of school, you know, you get the great answer of, how was your day? And kids often go, yeah, good. That's it. You know,
end of conversation.
Try and maybe coach a few, you know, oh, what did you do and how did school feel different, you know, because it's going to be a challenging time, not only just for teachers, but parents as well, to get used to how school is necessarily going to be. So try and, you know, maybe just even go for a walk, you know, you're allowed to go out and do your exercise, just and casually just engrossing some conversation about how school was and how is school. Because, you know, at the minute children are able to do a bit of maths and English and then go play at Xbox or go do some cooking with mum or dad, or so it's almost now going to flip it back on its head. So do I think there'll be a bigger epidemic with mental health and children in this group? Definitely. And how, as a government, as a nation, you know, are we going to address this situation in a school?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, it is, and I think that is the biggest thing, isn't it, that's going to come out of this, is how we're going to support people with their mental health as we go forward, and especially children, because the generation of children now are getting a very different view of the world than you know, children normally get. And there will be some good stuff in there, and you know, it will be a mixture of positives and negatives, but it's how we support them to go forward. And I think you know, I want to ask you some tips in a minute, but before we do that, I just wanted to echo what you said earlier about you know, hats off to parents that have been doing the home education, because it has been really hard for them, but also most importantly, they've been the parent, and that's their most important job. And I think, you know, it's hard enough being a parent, but then to be thrown the role as teacher and all those other things that have been thrown at you. So I think we do have to acknowledge that parents will be feeling it as well, and I think excuse me, if a school can really support the parents as well, which I have no doubt that schools do, I think that's really important. But just thinking, you know, children are starting to go back to school, albeit differently. What tips would you give parents to prepare children for going back to this new routine, and what that may look like? What would you suggest that they do?
Well, obviously each school is going to be different, as you said. So we've given out the measures we put in place, and they've all gone out to all of the parents. And we've encouraged the parents to obviously have a conversation with the children about how school's going to look, how it looks a little bit different, etc. So there are ways to come in, ways to go, different ways to wash your hands. And it's a great opportunity we're looking at to kind of almost, we've used the word as not social bubble, but we are a family. Like, you can be in your family household. So, you know, you're just moving technically from one family household to our family household. And yes, we are in different sections of the school. So you're kind of almost like a mini family, and you apply the same rules that you have been at home. So if you go to the toilet, wash your hands. So we're kind of almost trying to take the scare factor away from it to kind of encourage children to be happy. But also maybe I would say if you can, I know for us, we're not allowing parents on school site, but for, maybe have a walk over the weekend towards the school, just so your child gets that in their head, of how it used to be walking to school. Maybe just get them, get clothes ready. So try and encourage the old habits that used to be, the fun. Okay, we're going to school, you're going to see your friends. Yes, there's going to be 2 meters away, but try and encourage the fact that, this is going to be a new normality for a while, and just try and encourage them to kind of be happy, and that school is a fun time. School is a place you go to learn, and just maybe that learning is going to be a little bit different. And as a school, we've taken that on board. So we are still going to be teaching maths, English, science, but we've got kind of more outdoory breaks, kind of a bit more outdoor learning, hopefully with the good weather, to kind of encourage, a bit more freedom like they have been learning at home, because you can't flip from one to the other straight away.
No, there's got to be a period of adjustment, because for lots of children, they will be raring to get back to school and they can't wait to, but there will be children that will have really loved being at home and will find it difficult to go back in, and so everybody's got to recognize that, and you can't just slip straight back into English lesson and expect to be able to just get on with it. There's got to be that period. And I do love the fact that you are thinking of more outdoor learning, because that's lots of children learn much better outside, and there's studies that prove that being outside in the fresh air, we know it's good for you. It helps clear your mind, and you can introduce that physical activity as well. So maybe if we're looking at a different way of learning and we have more outdoor learning, that can only be a good thing.
Definitely. And the other thing we've looked at is kind of everything we do at school. I guess I've always approached this with it that I talk first. So, if I talk about a stress or the way I'm feeling, a child will then go, oh, well, you feel the same as me. And then they start to engage in a conversation. So I would say maybe as an adult, some of us are going to be heading back to work as your children are going back to school, and you might be feeling anxious. Like me as a teacher, I'm feeling anxious. I haven't been at work for 2 months. I've been in virtual lessons. So for me, I'm nervous just as much as the children are. So I would probably say as an adult, have an open conversation with your child and say, I'm feeling nervous about going back to work as well. Look, I'm going to have to work like this. So at my work, give them an example of how your work has put stuff into place to make it safe for you to go back. I would just say, try and talk openly and encourage your children to talk back to you, and I feel that does really work, as long as children have this big ethos that you are adults and that you don't think the same as children do. But as soon as you start this conversation and then they hear the words, how they feel, something kind of clicks, and then they're able to talk more, because they just look at adults and think, oh, it's a different world. It's not, we still have.
Yeah, we're just bigger versions of them, and with more complications, unfortunately.
Yeah, more bills and stuff.
Yeah, and that just comes with being an adult. But like you say, we're still that child inside us. And I know, this was going back last year, I was out walking with my partner, and we came across this park, and there was no children in this park. So I said to him, should we go play on the swings? Yeah, and he looked at me at first, and he went, okay. So we literally went and played on the swings. And
how did you feel?
Lovely. I loved it. And it was like, why do I not do this more often? Go play on the swings. Because it's in us. We're still that child. But we suddenly think, oh, well, what people say. And, we lose those inhibitions, don't we, that children have. And that's a bit sad. We need to work on bringing those back, so that we still have those childish moments.
It's the same with reading, isn't it? As an adult, you're expected, right, you've got to pick the biggest book up, the one with the most words, the kind of no-picture book. Well, sometimes, you just want to pick up a comic or something and have a read through. But it doesn't mean that I'm immature. It's just the fact that we're almost too scared to allow our inner child to come out, because we're frowned upon that people are going to look at you and think, oh, why?
But I think that's why, as adults as well, I don't know about you, but I love a Disney film.
And we use Disney for mental health, so Inside Out.
Yeah.
So we use that so we've got the characters around school, and children can obviously point to them if they don't want to talk, to share them. Disney is aimed at adults. There's a story behind every Disney film. It
is, but it's taking us back to our childhood as well, isn't it? And I feel like when I watch a Disney film, it's like a big hug. And it's like, I'm allowed to just be a child and enjoy this. And there are always those adult messages in there, but essentially it's taking you back to being a child, and I love it because all of a sudden you just think, oh, this is wonderful. Yeah,
Definitely. And with the hustle and bustle of everyday life, we forget that,
yeah,
it's like right now with this hot weather, me and my fiance, we'd love a swimming pool, just to maybe run and jump in a swimming pool. You just think that's what children are doing right now, and you just want to sometimes just let loose for a little bit and just kind of enjoy, just forget about the stresses and the norms, and just, I guess, have a bit of fun. We seem to, as adults, forgot the word fun. Say fun for us now will probably be having to go for a run or go to the gym, or when we can have 5 minutes peace, but what do we do for fun? I guess we just kind of just don't scream and shout, sometimes we just forget that little.
We just forget that we can still do that. But well, do you know what? It's been absolutely fascinating talking to you, Matt, and I feel like I could talk to you forever because we're on the same page, and I'm so excited that things like this are going on in primary schools, because it's really going to help the next generation, most definitely. So if people want to know more about what you do, Matt, where can they find you?
So I've got an Instagram page, so it's resilient_young_minds, and sometimes when I'm doing conferences or events, or I do lots of like kind of free training for teachers and parents, and obviously bring in the CAM service, etc., to work with the mental health teams. So there are loads of events and stuff that I do. I've just done one last week. I did one with the university to talk about the brain story, about how a child's brain works. So we did that as a webinar, and that was a free event. So if anyone wants to kind of get in contact, have a conversation, talk about stuff they've got, great ideas, or anyone that's interested in teaming up, etc., I'd be happy to share stories and look at how things can go. But it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you. So thank you for letting me be part of your show.
Oh no, it's been wonderful to have you, and good luck with going back to school, because I know you said off air that you're anxious about it as well as the children as well. But it sounds like your school has got a really great support system in place. So absolutely fantastic. Hats off to you, Matt. You're doing a sterling job. So thank you for joining us.
No problem. Thank you very much.